I think it's time we ask ourselves if we still know the freedoms that were intended for us by the founding fathers.
They seem to be in full-scale retreat from spending cuts and are talking about raising people's taxes again. And I have only one thing to say to the tax increasers. Go ahead, make my day.
If we lose freedom here, there's no place to escape to. This is the last stand on earth. Those who would trade our freedom for security have embarked on this downward course. Whether we believe in our capacity for self-government or whether we abandon the American Revolution and confess that a little intellectual elite in a far distant capital can plan our lives for us better than we can plan them ourselves.
Conduit News Radio with Paul Harrell is on now. So hang with us.
Just a few more seconds.
Okay.
Go.
Good morning. Welcome to the Paul Harrell program on Conduit News. And this is the place, the intersection of conservative reality and conservative ideas, the intersection of conservative ideas and reality. That's where we are today. And Paul is on vacation. Looking forward to having him back next week. And I tell you what, folks, we have got an amazing couple of hours for you. Right off the top, we're going to talk about that one issue that I believe led President Donald Trump to the White House, that won him the Republican nomination and won him the presidency, and that is immigration, and specifically build that wall. Well, that mentality has followed through in the state of Arkansas, where we're broadcasting from. Arkansas gave President Trump overwhelmingly a victory. So the people of Arkansas spoke loud and clear how they feel about illegal immigration. And I don't think there's anybody that has a problem with people coming to our state and to our country legally, and we have a legal path for people to do that. But when people come here illegally, they're breaking the law and taking advantage of a system and the good-natured, charitable attitude of the American people. And lots of folks do not like that. And it cost us hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars in the states surrounding us. My first guest is with me right now. I'm going to bring him on screen. Here we go. Lance Hines. Lance is a city council member with the city of Little Rock. And Lance, thank you so much for getting up and joining us this early in the morning. Appreciate that.
Jan. Glad to be here.
Okay, so the reason I brought you on is when we went to this legislative session, the first time our Republicans tried to pass the bill that prohibited sanctuary cities in the state of Arkansas, it failed miserably, could not get it out of committee, in spite of the fact that we had a majority of Republicans. That was very disillusioning. We turned that into a major battle. And within 24 hours of heavy-duty pressure on social media and putting the names and the faces and the contact information of the Republicans who voted the wrong way or conveniently left the room or were not present to vote, the next day we managed to, because of the added pressure, get them to turn that vote around. And it passed overwhelmingly. In fact, they couldn't wait to get to the table and vote on it. So now we have legislation in the state of Arkansas that prohibits sanctuary cities. Now, as a city council member, what does that legislation say to you? What does it mean to you and your responsibility from your city standpoint?
Well, I believe that the municipal ID program that we started violates sanctuary city status. I think it's a sanctuary city program. It was kind of put in under the guise of being able to try to help the homeless. And of course, it always has a public safety component that the police support. And from one standpoint, it does help us document those folks. But based on the ID and stuff they're supposed to provide, you still don't know who they are actually. But we do photograph them and fingerprint them, and that information is available publicly. I think the big issue we're going to have is our city attorney has stated that he believes that it doesn't violate our Department of Justice grant agreements, that type of stuff. But I think what it's going to end up having is we're going to have the Attorney General of the state of Arkansas determine for us whether or not that's a sanctuary city policy or not. And that's what the law states, that the AG's office will be the arbiter of that. But since we've got a city attorney who says it doesn't, in the state of Arkansas, we're all children of the state government. So I think we'll have to get the AG to determine what that status is.
Basically, the legislation says that the Attorney General will probably end up having to determine if a particular program that any city in this state has adopted violates that new law in our state. But here's the deal. For people who don't understand what you all were doing in Little Rock, you had handed out over 1,100, your city handed out over 1,000, 1,200 photo IDs to illegal immigrants, to illegals, people who could not prove they were here in the United States and in our state legally. Now, to me, that's a sanctuary city program. I mean, what about that does not reek of sanctuary city?
Right. I don't know. That's the question that our city attorney hasn't really been able to describe. Only his opinion, and we know what opinions are like.
Exactly. Well, now tell me this: how did this ever pass? Did you all vote on this? What was it called?
No, we never. It was called a municipal ID program. We never got to vote on it because it was done administratively through the budget process. So we did vote on it, but there was no way to carve it out of the legislation, which for us to do, it was initially funded with $180,000 of our tax money to start this program. But the way it was done administratively, I think somebody could also challenge us on the way we approved it.
You think? Yeah, one of those kind of deals where they sneak it in. You have to pass the budget before you know what's in it, sort of thing, is what it sounds like to me. So you've already spent, your city has spent, you said $180,000. That's for a position. What is a liaison? Or is that the position plus
the position? Just to let you know, even though it's a municipal ID program, the person that runs the program is called the Multicultural Liaison. And for a program that was supposed to be to help homeless get ID and people that couldn't get ID. But the funny thing about the state of Arkansas is if you're in the country legally with a visa and a passport, you can get a state issued ID. And the only person that couldn't get a state issued ID is somebody that couldn't prove, one, they were here legally, or they couldn't find their birth certificate in the case of some homeless. But my view on that is we've got wraparound services for the homeless community, and that they've been able to get those folks IDs before we started. So really, the real deal was this was an end around by one of our city directors and the mayor at the time and our city manager to create a program to give people who are not in the country legally identification, which gives them access to city services. And I sent you a screenshot, and anybody can go on Twitter, and I think it's at Multicultural Liaison Little Rock. If you do a search for that on Twitter, you can see we've got a Twitter page for that person that runs that program. And it's obviously targeted to get folks who are here illegally ID. And in fact, if you're a Mexican citizen here, you can get an ID from the Mexican consulate, and the embassies from Guatemala, El Salvador come to Little Rock once a quarter and give people who are here illegally IDs from their own countries, which is a form of ID. But for some reason, we felt we needed to create this special program because people couldn't get ID, which, like I said, it's just a doorway. The one good thing is we made sure with the election commission, this election cycle, that they were, Pulaski County Election Commission, that they were aware of it, and they would not accept that as a form of ID to vote.
So your city is still handing to date. You all are still handing out these IDs, in spite of the fact that this new law is passed, and no one has called the Attorney General to see if maybe what you're doing is wrong.
And it's my understanding the law doesn't take effect until July 1, the way the state statutes take effect. So there's nothing for the Attorney General or anybody to enforce until the statute actually takes effect. Okay. So I imagine they're gonna. I think it's done purposely. They're gonna keep doing this to set up a challenge and force somebody to get the AG's opinion involved, which will probably be me.
Yes. So do you all have the votes on the city council? If you all decided that you didn't want to fund this any longer, or that it needed to be, a cease and desist until the attorney general, can you all not do anything as council members?
If you'll recall, I tried to pass a resolution at the city level to basically state that we would not become a sanctuary city or have sanctuary city policies, and I could not get enough votes. So I pulled that resolution down with the hopes that the state legislature would preempt us, which they ended up doing. And now that we've got that, we'll try to see if we can get them to pull it down.
This is just incredible. And I wonder how many other cities are doing this that we don't know about. Are you aware of any other cities? I know that you had mentioned
in Arkansas, I don't think there's any. We're the only city doing this type of, but there's other cities in Arkansas that have expressed interest, Fayetteville, Eureka, on creating their own municipal ID program like Little Rock's.
Mm-hmm. And you know this, how do you know this?
Because they've called and asked us how we're doing it.
Mm-hmm. So it sounds like we need to do a push on our attorney general to investigate this program and go ahead and issue an opinion rather than waiting for the city of Little Rock to ask for opinion. I think that Leslie Rutledge, our attorney general, knows.
It's going to take a citizen such as myself or another resident of Little Rock.
Or how about a bunch of citizens? All the people who are out there, yes, all the folks who are out there listening right now. What do you suggest? Do we need to apply pressure as citizens of this state to, because even if you don't live in Little Rock, folks, when your capital city is giving out valid photo IDs to illegal aliens, I'm just going to go ahead and call them exactly what they are. They're illegal aliens. If our capital city is doing that, then those folks are free to run around this state. And I'm wondering how many other social programs, how many other programs will this entitle them to receive? What kinds of entitlements will they be able to receive as a result of having this valid photo ID? Will they be able to vote?
The election commission says they won't be able to vote, but they can plug into a lot of city services for residents of Little Rock. And, whether it's our children, youth, and families programming which is mainly after-school childcare, summer programs for youth. There are a bunch of programs they can plug into there, and they're already plugging into our school system, which our tax dollars pay for. And I tried to explain to some of the African American members of our committee is that we have already got struggling schools in Little Rock, and the inflow of illegal aliens and their children in our school system takes resources away from those kids who need it most. That normally, if they weren't here, if they weren't here in the country, they wouldn't be in our public schools. So.
Right. Well, I'm going to suggest that we need to have a twofold approach to fighting this and stopping this outrageous behavior and blatant violation of federal immigration law. And here is what my suggestion is that we do. I think that the citizens in Little Rock, number one, need to start en masse calling their city manager, calling their mayor, calling their city council member from their district, and each people from that particular district. The folks in each district need to rise up and tell their city council members, we don't want this, and we don't want our taxpayers, our tax dollars, funding a program that violates federal immigration law and violates our new state law, which explicitly prohibits programs that are sanctuary city style programs. And any program that encourages people who come to our country illegally to get a photo ID and become part of the system here rather than coming here legally and using the process and the system that we have in place, to me, that is a sanctuary city. And that's exactly the kind of thing that you would expect to happen in California, not Arkansas. So I don't know why this is happening in our state, but and I don't know why we had so much trouble. Well, I actually do, but I'm not going to say. You've got some major employers in this state who are hiring illegals in mass numbers, and that needs to come to a halt too. And that's a whole different topic. But for today, I'm going to suggest that people contact City Hall in the city of Little Rock and demand that the city cease and desist with this program until we get an attorney general ruling. And then we need to press, the people need to call the attorney general's office in this state. And they need to call her and say, look, we don't want this. We don't want other cities to start adopting this. If this is what we're going to do, it makes a mockery of the whole federal immigration law, and further makes a mockery of this prohibiting sanctuary city bill that we just passed, that our legislators passed overwhelmingly.
Right. And I tell you, the funny thing is that the city of Little Rock, we're facing some budget deficits and cuts, and to me, that seems like an easy way to cut, $180,000 that we could be using for other city services to provide, whether it's our parks or public safety type stuff. And I'll tell you what they use. The whole thing they use this as the biggest thing these IDs do is give these illegal immigrants access to our bank. There are some banks who have agreed to take that as a secondary form of ID. Most federally insured banks can't accept that as a form of, it's not recognized as a legal form of ID, but there are some community banks that are state chartered that are using it as a form of ID for them to be able to bank and do business like that.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Okay, this is amazing. There were two other pro-immigration bills that Governor Hutchinson signed. One of them would allow nurses to graduate from nursing school who came to America through the DACA program, and the other one allowed them to get out of illegals to get out of state tuition, which I don't get that either. So if you are here in America illegally, you can come to one of our universities and you don't have to pay out of state tuition. But if you're a legal United States citizen and you're from Texas or another state, and you want to come to an Arkansas school, you have to pay that out of state tuition. So we're discriminating against American citizens.
And if you're coming in from out of the country legally to go to one of our colleges, you pay out of state tuition.
Yeah. So it rewards bad behavior. It rewards illegal behavior. Amazing. Lance, thank you so much for getting up early with us to talk about this. I really appreciate it. We'll let you go back to bed now. And please keep us posted on what's going on with this particular.
And like I say, I'm waiting. We're in the middle of a budget fight. So as soon as we get this put to bed, I plan on turning my eyes on our ID program.
Well, since this was in the budget and got passed by slipping it in the budget, why don't you just axe it from the budget? Okay?
Well, I may make, we're going to have some budget amendments come up next week. I might be able to make. I think the funny thing is our folks didn't even want to have a vote on it, an up or down vote. So I told them I can always bring it back, and we may get an opportunity to force a vote on it and see if I can get a budget amendment passed.
If you need some support from the citizens, let me know. We'll get the people up there, okay?
We can definitely use it. Thanks, Jan.
Okay, thank you. Thanks, Lance. All right. So that was Lance Hines. He is a city councilman with the city of Little Rock, and we were talking to him about Sanctuary City program. I mean, there's no doubt about it. It was in place. It was a program that allows people who come into the state of Arkansas illegally to get photo IDs from the city of Little Rock, which opens the door for them to get all kinds of other entitlements. And by gosh, if that's not a sanctuary city program, I don't know what is. But now we have a state law in place that's supposed to prohibit any sort of program like that. And it's going to take an attorney general ruling, looks like, to get that stopped. Now, coming up in the next half hour, we're going to be talking with constitutional attorney Chris Ann Hall about medical marijuana, a big issue in the state of Arkansas. There are tons of questions, and especially about gun rights, because under federal law, if you have a medical marijuana prescription, you lose your gun rights. And we're going to find out from Chris Ann exactly, where's this line between states' rights and federal overreach? All that. And then after that, after Chris Ann, in the 7 o'clock hour, we're going to be talking to the first medical marijuana dispensary owner in the state of Arkansas. He's right here in Hot Springs, and he's going to be here on the set with me. And all those questions you have, he's going to be on for almost an entire hour. We're going to let you ask your questions. I'm going to ask questions, and we're going to find out a lot about how this program works, and what the rules are, and what it's going to cost, and how things are going. Thousands and thousands of people were lined up when he opened that dispensary here in Hot Springs. So all that coming up ahead in the next hour. Stay with us. We'll be back after this break.
area. Okay, so you just started the break so you can talk.
Okay. All right, folks. So we are in a break. Just so you know, things are kind of different the way we're doing it because we're also broadcasting simultaneously on a number of radio stations across the state of Arkansas. So those of you in Facebook land who are joining us right now, yeah, it's a 3-minute break. We've got a 3-minute break. So I'm going to look at some of your things. I'm going to say hello to you and talk to you. David Dieter in Indiana, Kokomo, Indiana. Good morning to you. And so what's happening is during the breaks, this is my chat time with you, just a visit. And then when the radio stations come back from that 3-minute break, then they join us and we'll get back with our other guests. Reggie, I need you. And by the way, this is Reggie Cowan. He is my floor producer today. I need you to find out where Chris Ann is. She's supposed to be joining us on the next. Here we go. Let's see here. She has not called in yet. So call her producer. And let's see here. I'm not seeing her number here. Hold on a second. Let's go back here, Janet. Okay. Not her. Pamela, write down this number for me, please. Okay. Reggie, this is the number that I need you to, well, I'll just call her. Find out where Chris Ann is. Call 631-682-3084. That is Chris Ann's producer, and I need her to give us a call and let her know because we are waiting for her. She's coming on live with us in a couple of minutes. Hey, Mickey, how are you? Hey, Reggie, if she doesn't come back, okay. Welcome back to Conduit News, the Paul Harrell program. Jan Morgan here filling in for Paul Harrell this week. It has been a crazy week here in the Hot Springs area and across Arkansas. We just visited with Lance Hines, Little Rock City Council member. He was talking with us about a sanctuary city program that the city of Little Rock has actually implemented, where they've given over 1,100 photo IDs to people who are here in our state and in our country illegally. And according to Lance, that is a sanctuary city program. And I think it sounds like it is too. And of course, in the state legislature, just this last session, our Republicans passed legislation prohibiting sanctuary city programs in this state. And they were specifically looking at that program in Little Rock when they voted on that bill. So, and it passed and the governor has signed it. So it goes into law, I believe, in July. And it's going to be interesting to see how they're going to deal with that, because as we speak, as you heard, if you just now are joining us, Lance Hines, city council member, said even today, they are still, as of today, issuing those sanctuary city program IDs to illegals. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens with that. During this hour, we were supposed to have Chris Ann Hall, who is a constitutional law attorney representing Patriots of Act 746 half hour today. She is not with us right now. I think she must be having a technical difficulty. I know that she was up until after midnight last night, pulling a long night. So don't know if she's going to be joining us after all, but I want to talk to you about something else. While we've got a couple of minutes. Hillary Clinton is coming to Hot Springs, Arkansas. She is going to be the keynote speaker at the commencement ceremony of the Arkansas Math and Science School here in Hot Springs. In case you haven't heard about all the controversy, well, let me fill you in. There are lots of folks who are very angry about that because they feel, this is the graduation ceremony for the senior class at the Arkansas Math and Sciences School here in Hot Springs. And not everyone who is graduating from that class is a kid who's a Democrat. And not all the parents of the kids who are graduating are Democrats. And then now we have Hillary Clinton, who is the epitome of the Democrat Party, is the keynote speaker for their commencement exercises. And so, the folks are highly upset about it, not only the people who are attending that school, but people in the community, because they feel that this is politicizing something that should have been a personal ceremony for the folks who are attending that school. So we're going to have to take a quick break. And then after this break, when we come back, I'm going to talk to either Chris Ann Hall or Reggie Cowan. It'll be a surprise. Stay with us. Okay, folks. So for those of you who are with us in Facebook land, we are taking another radio break at this moment. So if you'll just kind of hang tight with us. Okay. So if you'll just hang tight with us, I'm going to visit with you for a few minutes while we're waiting, because we're taking a radio station break. See Dave Raw, he says, how's it going? It's going great. Sheila Logan, good morning to you too. Matt Swearingen, you were on with me doing a test last night. I can't believe you're awake already. Sue Miller watching from Ohio, glad to hear that. Good morning. Larry Evans from Rush, Kentucky. Stoney Weston, good morning to you as well. Dan Dazell says, always good material, Jan, and much appreciation as always. Those of you who are listening, who live in Little Rock, Arkansas, watching us, I hope that you will make the time to call your city council members, call your mayor, call your city manager, and let them know you don't like that ID program, that you want something done about that. I see we've got Chris Ann Hall now on the phone. So, Chris Ann, we're going to be joining you in just a second, if you'll just hang tight, okay?
Okay, thank you.
All right. So Chris Ann Hall is a constitutional law attorney, and as soon as we get back from the hard break, we're going to be talking with her about medical marijuana and how this is going to impact you, what the laws are, and the federal overreach, because the feds say you can't have guns and have a medical marijuana prescription. And furthermore, you can't even have ammunition. Pretty tough language there. So that's what we're going to be discussing with Chris Ann as soon as this break is up. And Chris Ann, we're so glad you could be with us. I know you had a late night last night.
Yes, ma'am. We're having a church revival meeting this week. So we have 2 services a day, and the evening service has a tendency to go pretty late.
All right. So we're going to just stand by. Chris Ann, don't leave. Just hang on. And as soon as they give me the cue, we're going live, and we'll be broadcasting on multiple radio stations across the state of Arkansas, as well as, of course, Facebook land out there. So, okay, I'm going to kind of scroll down while we're doing this and look at some of the other comments from some of you. Ron Higgs, good morning from Branson, Missouri. There we go. Okay. Oh, lots of more comments up here. Let's scroll up here. Richard N. Ruiz, good morning to you. Wayne Writing, he says, great job. Good. Frank Poff from Texarkana. Tim Loggins. Is this something Tim wants me to share later? Mm-hmm. Yeah, Tim Loggins, just by the way, I'm going to share that with him. Can I hold this for just a second? Yeah, as soon as we get back from the break, I will share that. I will do that. Let's see here. Frank Poff in Texarkana. Great to see you here with us this morning. Frank, I've known him a long time. Lots of folks, Texarkana, my old home stomping grounds. So, Weta Johnson from Oklahoma. Good to have you on. And we've got folks from Illinois. Welcome back. I'm Jan Morgan. Welcome to the Paul Harrell program, where conservative ideas meet reality. We're at that intersection. And I'm Jan Morgan, filling in for Paul Harrell. With me this half hour is Chris Ann Hall, constitutional lawyer. And Chris Ann, thank you so much for joining us.
Oh, Jan, it is always my pleasure and to be with you and Paul. It really, really is.
All right, good deal. Well, let's get right to the core, the meat of what we're talking about. The reason we wanted you on today is because medical marijuana passed. It's legal in the state of Arkansas. Our first dispensary opened in Hot Springs last week, and there were thousands of people lined up. I mean, people were lined up, Chris Ann, long before the doors opened. There were long lines all day. It's just now beginning to slow down after a week and a half. It was incredible to drive by and see that and know that that's just one dispensary. And I've been told that over 8,000 to 10,000 people had already been cleared for medical marijuana license prescriptions in this state, which frightens me because I look at that and say there's 10,000 people in Arkansas who had gun rights who are about to lose them. Am I wrong in saying that they're going to lose their gun rights?
Well, it depends on what perspective you're speaking from, actually, Jan, because number one, the right to keep and bear arms is intended to be a natural right. Mm-hmm. And it's not something that the government is supposed to be taking from you. It is something that you can forfeit by committing an act of violence or against someone else, right? So liberty is actually freedom plus morality. So you're free to do whatever you want, but the boundary of liberty is that you cannot harm or control the right of another. So rights like the right to keep and bear arms, Samuel Adams said, stems from the first law of nature, the duty of self-preservation. Our Declaration of Independence says you have that we hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal and endowed by their Creator with certain inalienable rights. Among these life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Samuel Adams says that among those four rights are the right to protect and defend those rights yourself in the best manner that is possible. So the government may pass a law to take your rights, but that doesn't make that law lawful. And that's something that we as citizens really need to understand the difference between.
I think a lot of us understand it loud and clear, Chris Ann. I think it's the federal government that somehow doesn't understand it. Somebody forgot to give them the memo, that a right is not a privilege and rights can't be regulated or restricted. I don't know how that all got turned around with the feds, but just so you know, I have a federal firearms license. So I particularly have to stay on top of this sort of thing. And let me tell you what ATF is saying. I don't know if you've heard about this, but ATF is saying that if you have a medical marijuana prescription, because the federal government still views marijuana as illegal, then you are not allowed to have a gun. You cannot even be in possession of firearms or ammunition. And Arkansas State Police are saying you're going to lose your concealed handgun license, and they're not going to hand you a license if you want one. And then if you already have a license, you're not going to get it renewed. Tim Loggins with Patriots of Act 746 just sent me this message. He says law enforcement will be checking. Of course, he's been talking to people in law enforcement. We're all are trying to find out how are you going to enforce this? What's going to happen? He says law enforcement officers will be checking to ensure that medical marijuana is in its original packaging. And if not, you're subject to charges as if you didn't have a prescription. Amazing.
Well, you have three problems there, Jan. Three very, very large problems. Number one, as the state of Arkansas has come to recognize, the Constitution does not authorize the federal government to regulate what we wear, what we eat, what we drink, what we smoke, what we use for medication. That is not a power that has been delegated to the federal government. That is an authority that is reserved to the state. Now, Arkansas obviously recognizes that by making medical marijuana accessible to citizens of Arkansas. The other problem that you have is that, number one, the federal government is not authorized to regulate firearms. So just like Arkansas has recognized that every federal law regarding marijuana is not lawful, as a matter of fact, our founder said, if it's not authorized by the Constitution, it is null and void. And the Constitution actually has a clause, Article 6, Clause 2, that says that if laws made by Congress are not made in pursuance to the Constitution, the judges of the state are not bound by those laws. So Arkansas recognizes that with marijuana. Now, Arkansas needs to also recognize that with firearms. There is absolutely no constitutional authority for the federal government to regulate firearms or ammunition in any way whatsoever. Mm-hmm. The invention of federal power comes from the Congress inventing authority, the judiciary supporting inventive authority based on an errant interpretation of the Commerce Clause. So which is the same errant interpretation that the government uses to make marijuana illegal. So if Arkansas is going to recognize that the federal government has no authority over marijuana, then they also need to recognize reason. Now, here's the crazy thing: Congress hasn't passed a law. This is a regulation created by the ATF.
Right.
So now you have an agency. This is such a constitutional misconduct 4 times removed, right? Mm-hmm. So now you have a regulatory agency who has been elected by no one, depriving the American people of a right that, number one, the federal government doesn't possess the authority to do, and number 2, this is legislation without representation. So the state of Arkansas going to make medical marijuana legal needs to step up and defend its citizens and put its money where its mouth is and protect their gun rights too.
That's where I was hoping you would head with this, because the job of the governor of our state and our sheriff, the sheriff has more constitutional authority in each individual county than the president of the United States. But, this is when I'll never forget, Curtis Coleman told me once, he said, the role of the governor is to be the line. He is to be the heavy hand between the overreach of the federal government and to protect the people of his state. We've got to get back to the state's rights. It's almost like, state governors have forgotten that we have states' rights and that, they have that power, that state sovereignty. And at this time, in this place in our country, I think more than ever, we need to elect people who understand that and will use that authority to defend the people of their states. Now, let me ask you this. Other states have medical marijuana. Some states like Colorado have actually legalized marijuana. So, what are some other states doing, and what have they done to stand between the strong arm of the federal government and to protect the people of their state?
Well, you're absolutely right, and I know you know because you have my book, Sovereign Duty.
I love your book.
Thank you. My book, Sovereign Duty, if we have people out there who are listening and thinking, I don't understand how this works. How can the federal government do this if Chrisanne is right? Then my book, Sovereign Duty, will break that down and explain it to you, because the truth of the matter is the founders, the drafters and ratifiers of our Constitution actually expected a day where the federal government would attempt to escape its constitutional boundaries. And they wrote down, at the same time that they were writing the Constitution, they wrote down the solutions to controlling the federal government. And you're absolutely right, Jan. The solution is external. It is not internal. The federal government's only check and balance is not itself. The federal government's greatest check and balance exists in the state and local government. And James Madison, the father of the Constitution, 4th President of the United States, says that the state legislators were the greatest guard of the people's liberty on earth in regard to usurpation of federal power. So you said the sheriff is more powerful than the president of the United States. The sheriff is more powerful than the governor and the state police.
Which is why we need to pay attention to who we elect. Well, guess what, Chrisanne? I have the sheriff of Garland County, Arkansas, who is coming on with me in the last 15 minutes of the 7 o'clock hour. And I'm going to specifically ask him about that and what his officers are going to do and what they plan to do as far as handling this, because people are confused. I think that our government thrives on the fact in this state that we are in a state of confusion. Not we, most of us know what our rights are, but there are a lot of people who don't know, and the state government in this state seems to prefer it that way. Rather than, answer and make it clear for everybody that this perpetual state of confusion is to the government's benefit, not to the benefit of the people. And expecting to get clarification from the state government is not something that I'm going to hold my breath for. And I certainly am not expecting our current leader in this state to step up and be the defense mechanism between the strong arm of the federal government and the people. But hopefully one of these days we will have a governor and we will have sheriffs throughout this state who will understand the power that they have to protect and the responsibility that they have to stand up for the people of their state. And, we'll see what happens.
It's highly inconsistent, Jan, that the state of Arkansas would stand up in favor of the people's rights in the very specific limits of the Constitution on federal power regarding medical marijuana, and then turn around and say, we're going to allow the federal government, we're going to help the federal government enforce unconstitutional, unauthorized laws against your guns. It is highly inconsistent. It is absolutely unlawful, and it flies in the face of the duty of the state and local government. Your sheriff needs to understand that even by the terms of the Constitution of even by the terms of the Supreme Court of the United States, he has an authority above the federal government. It's a it's a case called Mac Prince v. U.S., where the Supreme Court, in the majority opinion, actually quoted the Federalist Papers and James Madison and said that there are two separate spheres. There is federal and there is state and local. And your sheriff is the chief executive of the local government above the governor and the state itself, because he's not a hireling of the government. He is a constitutionally established, elected representative of the people. And as that duty, he has a duty to protect the rights of the people, even when it's the government that's going against those rights. And that's what the Supreme Court has said, that the sheriff has no obligation to enforce these laws whatsoever. And the problem is we don't have sheriffs that understand that. Number one, we don't teach these things in the academy. Number two, we don't teach these things in law schools. And number three, we don't teach these things in schools at all. And so that's, I mean, Jan, you've had me out to range teaching. I've been in Arkansas teaching with Bama Carey. I've been in Arkansas teaching with separate groups. These fundamental principles of constitutional knowledge are being lost in America because you're absolutely right. Government in charge of education doesn't want its people to know, because people will tamely surrender their liberties when they don't understand the limits of government.
Speaking of your teaching, you are coming back to Arkansas in October. I believe it's October 10th, and you're going to be speaking at in the Capitol Rotunda. What are you going to talk about on that day? And do you know the time? And I'll kind of throw that at you. You may not. You've got a hectic schedule. May not remember the exact time, but if you don't, I'll get that for the folks out there listening. But what are you going to talk about in October when you come back here?
Well, you can. I don't have the time on me, Jan, but you can get it at my website, KrisAnnHall.com, KrisAnnHall.com, and there's a calendar tab. You just click on it, and it shows you everything that I'm doing.
Okay.
I'm going to be talking about state sovereignty, Jan, but that's the whole reason to bring me to the Capitol, is to give your legislators the opportunity to understand the role and duties of state legislators to defend the Constitution. And our founders said defending the Constitution means stepping up and keeping the federal government within their constitutional bounds. Quoting a law professor from Virginia, is that the supremacy clause makes the federal government supreme to the states. That is an absolute lie. There is nothing in the supremacy clause that makes the federal government supreme to the states. The supremacy clause, which is Article 6, Clause 2, makes the Constitution supreme and everything else subordinate to it. And it even has a clause in it that says laws that are made not in pursuance to the Constitution, the judges of the states are not bound by them. Any law made by Congress must be made consistent with the Constitution in order to be valid. And that means that these laws, these federal gun laws, are completely invalid, just like Arkansas has recognized that federal marijuana laws are completely invalid.
You know, speaking of we were talking about this position of ATF, which I called ATF recently because when we opened our first medical marijuana dispensary, I called ATF to find out, okay, I know what your position is, but I need somebody to come on camera with me and answer the people's questions and be more specific about whether or not you're all going to enforce this. And you know what they said? They said, well, you know, when Jeff Sessions was Attorney General, we knew where he stood. He was just adamantly opposed to the whole marijuana thing, regardless across the board. But now we have a new AG, and we're not sure where he stands. And so nobody really wants to step out there and forcefully say, this is our position. So it's going to be interesting to see what William Barr does with that. We are running out of time, but I just wanted to thank you once again, KrisAnne, for coming on and for talking to the people and for what you do across America. I'm telling you folks, if you ever get a chance to hear KrisAnne teach, and I say teach rather than speak because she teaches, and I'm telling you, it's the most interesting teaching that you'll ever get. For anybody to be able to teach you about the Constitution and people not fall asleep, KrisAnne can do it. She does it. I've heard her do it. I've watched her do it over and over again. She's totally amazing. And KrisAnne, best of luck. Tell people real quickly how they can find you. Where's your website? Give them the info very quickly on that.
My website is krisannehall.com, KrisAnnehall.com, and that's where you can get access to our nationally syndicated radio show, our podcast, our videos, and all the articles that I write on the Constitution. You can also contact us through the website to book your venue.
Okay. Thank you so much, sweet girl. Love you. Take care.
Thank you. Love you too. Bye-bye.
I've known KrisAnne a long time. We'll be back after this break.
So it's only about 3 minutes.
Okay. About 3 minutes. Okay, folks out in Facebook land, I know you're still with us. We are in a hard break right now. The radio stations are taking that break. And so I'm going to bring in my next guest. Come on over here. And I'm going to have you sit right over here. So you get to see all the behind the scenes stuff on Facebook that the people in the radios stations, they're hearing music and listening to a break and commercials, and you don't have to do that. And you get all the fun stuff, all the behind the scenes stuff. This is the guy. Now, tell me, how do I pronounce your name?
Dragon.
Dragon. Vicentic. Okay, so I'm going to make sure that we got you in the screen. I want you to, you see the screen here?
Yep.
That's what people are seeing. So I want to make sure that we get you in there all the way. And so I need you to move it a little closer. Yeah, there you go. And I'm going to adjust this because I'm not important and you are. Here we go. There we go.
True.
Dragon.
Mm-hmm.
Like in the
Puff,
okay.
the magic dragon.
Gotcha. Okay. Dragon Vicentic.
Mm-hmm.
Got it. Okay. So, folks, we've got Dragon Vicentic. He is the guy. Were you actually officially the first medical marijuana dispensary to open?
We should have been. The doctor's orders had advertised that they were opening on the 15th.
Okay.
And we advertised that we would open that Monday, the 13th. And so somehow they kind of jumped the gun and opened a couple days before we did, probably to get the publicity. But
they did that. Well,
yeah,
everybody said you were the first. Anyway,
right.
I talked about yours was the first. I saw long lines. But anyway, now listen, folks, we're going to have so, yeah. Okay. So, is this this is what you want me to look at right now?
No.
Oh, this. Okay. So, but he's not going to, you're going to let me know when we're back on. Okay. So, yeah. So we will, even though I'm asking you a few things now, once the radio stations come back and join us, I'm going to re-ask and we're going to welcome back and everything. But so for the folks that are out there, we're going to talk about this. I guess this is what this is what the marijuana comes in. People are going to get, no, there's a big one and a little one.
Well, we've got different sizes. The Medical Marijuana Commission mandated that it be in a certain package. For instance, this is what we use.
Mm-hmm.
I think other places may use jars or something like that, glass jars, but it has to be child-proof. So it's kind of pretty much just like a pill bottle.
Okay, interesting.
And the one size is about 3.5 grams, if you're kind of wondering the size. And the larger one holds about 14 grams or half an ounce of medical marijuana.
This is Holy Roller. What does that mean?
That's the strain name.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay. So we've got different names. Like, does that have anything to do with strength and THC?
So the lab tests do tell us the different strengths of THC, the amount of cannabinoids. We currently have about 10 strains that are supplied by the Bold Group, which is the only cultivation group that is producing product right now. We'll have another one, the Natural State, which comes on board around June 1st, and then there'll be the third cultivation group, Osage, out of Northwest Arkansas around mid-June.
Mm-hmm. Okay. You know, as you are aware, there are going to be a gazillion questions. People out there are curious about all this.
Love questions.
Okay. All right. So welcome back. We are filling in for Paul Harrell. I'm Jan Morgan, and Paul Harrell's on vacation. He'll be back next week. But this is going to be an interesting hour, one like you have never had on the Paul Harrell program, because we have the owner of one of the first medical marijuana dispensaries in the state of Arkansas, right here in Hot Springs, Dragon Vicentic.
That's right.
And welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us. Now, this is just a huge deal. And I say that not lightly, because when you opened, what was it, last week for the first? Yeah,
The 13th.
there, how many people came through the doors?
275, I believe.
Wow.
Yeah.
Now, and I heard that there were 8 to 10,000 people already in the state of Arkansas that had qualified and actually been given a medical marijuana prescription. Is that pretty?
13,000.
13,000? You've got to be kidding me.
No, and those numbers are actually pretty low. The figure is that 1% of the population is the rate of people that will sign up for it. So we have about 3 million people. So it should be around 30,000, maybe a little bit better, within the first year that will sign up for the program.
Incredible. Okay, so first of all, let's talk about what you have to do to get a prescription, because I thought that medical marijuana was supposed to be for people that had cancer, who could not hold down food, to deal with nausea, people that were terminally ill. I mean, I thought this was for, really serious medical cases, but clearly it's not. If you've got that, we don't have 13,000 people.
There's a lot of sick people in Arkansas, but it's 18 symptoms are what are allowed, and I can go through them real quick.
Go through them. Yes.
Alzheimer's disease, amyotrophic lateral.
Now, can I ask you, how does marijuana help Alzheimer's?
Well, it calms your nerves, and
Okay.
And with Alzheimer's payments, if you calm the nerves, it just mellows.
You don't care about what's going on. Okay.
All right. So
Okay.
cachexia or wasting syndrome,
Okay.
cancer, Crohn's disease, chronic pain, fibromyalgia, glaucoma, hepatitis C, HIV or AIDS, multiple sclerosis or MS, peripheral neuropathy,
Okay.
PTSD, seizures, severe nausea, severe arthritis, Tourette's syndrome, and ulcerative colitis.
Okay, so that's a pretty wide variety, and you have to fit whatever your symptoms are. They have to fit one of these. Those are the only. Who came up with that list? Who approved that?
The Medical Marijuana Commission came up with this list of 18 symptoms, and
Okay.
they can add other symptoms kind of as the program goes along. But you asked earlier, how do you get a card? So the easiest way is to go to your regular physician and have him sign a certification letter that certifies that you have one of the 18 symptoms.
Okay.
And then it's very simple. You just take that letter, you either go online and you complete the Arkansas Department of Health application and send in the $50, and the card will come to you.
So
in
it's
a couple weeks.
$50 to get a prescription.
Yeah, it's not a prescription. It's a medical marijuana card.
A card. Okay. So it's $50 to get the card, but you do have to pay for your doctor's visit. You have to go to the doctor. Are there certain doctors that are becoming known for handing these out easier than others? In Hot Springs, for example?
And so what that amounts to is some doctors are just so busy that they haven't checked into exactly how the program works. It's a simple certification letter. You just fill out that the patient has one of these, and the doctor puts his name on the bottom of the certification letter and his DEA number, and that's it. It's just very simple. In Arkansas, they did that right, because in other states, they started out originally with the doctors doing a prescription. And so that was a lot of problem for the doctors, because the doctors used their DEA number, which is a federal number to prescribe. And so they kind of came into a gray area of, can they use their federal DEA number to prescribe something? So in this instance, in Arkansas, all the doctor has to do is certify that you have a condition. And once he certifies that, then the Arkansas Department of Health does everything else. They're the ones that kind of give you, if you want to call it a prescription to buy medical marijuana, the medical marijuana card is your prescription to buy medical marijuana.
And how long is that good for?
It's good for 1 year. Now, there's a lot of question, and a lot of people are upset because they got their cards back in February, and that we weren't, none of the facilities were open, so they kind of thought they got ripped off out of 3 months of their card. So the Arkansas Department of Health is changing that. They're going to issue cards from the day that the first one opened, from May to May 2020. So you're going to get your full year of use of the card.
Okay. So, and after that year, you have to go back and get another prescription, right?
So what you're going to have to do is go back and have the doctor recertify it. And from what I'm understanding, the recertification is going to be half the cost of what the original one was, because look, you're already certified. They're just recertifying a certification. And then I think think the price is going to be the same with the Department of Health. You're going to have to pay $50 for them to send you the card.
So a lot of people, or a lot of folks, just showing up at the dispensary confused and thinking they can just get the card there, or just showing up to ask questions, or are people pretty much catching on to how this works?
Well, we have a huge presence on Facebook. It's a Green Springs Medical Dispensary, and I answer a ton of questions on there. We've got over 3,000 followers, and so I think they're just kind of catching on.
Dang, that's a popular page really fast.
Yeah. And so they all know that you have to have a medical marijuana card. Some people trickle in and ask questions, and we're more than happy to answer them. We're a wealth of information. If you want to call us or look at our page and ask a question.
Yeah. So tell me, is there something different that differentiates your medical marijuana from the other marijuana that's on the streets? For example, if somebody gets that prescription and then what's to keep them from, because isn't it going to be cheaper to buy from guys on the street, or is it cheaper to buy from you?
No, it's going to be cheaper from the guys on the street because look, it's black market, and you don't know what you're getting. You could get somebody's grass cut up in with some marijuana or whatever. But the fact about the medical marijuana is it's grown inside a facility. None of this can be grown outside. And
the THC content is
certain chemicals can only be used. Certain fertilizers can only be used. It's checked for chemicals. It's checked for fertilizers. And then whenever the product is completed, it's sent off to a third-party lab, and it's lab tested. And they test for all those chemicals and also, they test the amount of cannabinoids in it, the amount of THC level, so you know the exact strength of what you're getting every single time, and it's a quality product. So it's going to be a little bit more than what it is on the street because you know what you're getting.
Okay, so we have to take a break for our radio stations, and we're going to do that, and then we'll be right back. Okay, so during the break, I'm going to look at some of the questions people are asking, and let's see what the folks are. Someone, Karen Lanier wants to know how long or how often, who certifies the THC levels? I think
every batch is certified by independent lab.
Every batch. Ooh, okay. So, Timothy Yates wants you to know that he thinks you're a great guy and get off the. Okay.
Thanks, Tim.
Yeah, you know who that is. I'm not going to say. Amy Friedman says, ask him how he was able to purchase the license. Yeah. So she wants to know how only so many dispensaries were given. Was that a tough competition for you guys?
It was a very tough competition. There were over 200 applicants.
Wow.
And again, something that Arkansas did correctly was they did a merit-based application. So you had to submit an application that had just a ton of procedures and SOPs and how you ran the business from the start all the way to delivering the product. And my particular application was 786 pages by the time I got done with it.
Wow.
And,
that's a lot of work. You worked hard for that.
It was a lot of work.
Maureen Lug wants to know, how much do people pay at the dispensary? So you get your prescription. What is the average cost? Now you have different costs for different types, right?
Well, and so what we did to simplify that for people is we just did one.
There's
one
none
rate.
in here. These are empty.
Those are empty.
Okay.
There's just one rate across the board so that everybody can try products. Because some people come in there and they say, "Hey, just give me a gram of each one. I want to see which one benefits me the most." And
really? So you can pick what you want.
Yeah, sure.
And your prescription is not regulated as far as how often you. I mean, it's just. Once you have the prescription, you can come in and buy as much as you want to buy.
So here's how it works. You come into our dispensary. We have a team of 6 or 7 consultants. You walk up to them. You tell them what your symptoms are. You tell them what you want to alleviate. Do you want to wake up and be peppy in the morning? Do you want to go to sleep? And so from that, our trained consultants are able to suggest a couple strains that would most benefit you.
Okay.
So you can either go that route, or you can come in and say, "Hey, I'm from Colorado. I know exactly about these strains. This is what I want," and we do that also.
You have one called Gunslinger. I'm interested. What does that one do? What is that?
So that one's a 75% indica, and so indicas and sativas. Indicas, if you just want to kind of remember into bed, that kind of makes you mellow out and fall asleep.
Okay.
So that's kind of what an indica is. A sativa you take in the morning to kind of pep you up and keep you going through the day.
And cookies and Kim. Cookies and Kim.
Mhm,
What is that one?
So it's a 65% indica. It's also kind of a one to mellow you out. But the most important part is the THC level. 18.5% on the Gunslinger in this particular lab test of the first batch that we had, and the Cookies and Kim was by far the highest THC content of 30%.
So is that the one that's the most popular? I mean, I would think aren't people looking for that?
Some people come in and say, hey, I want the strongest one that you have. And so it has a little popularity. But Mimosa actually was the one, and we don't have that on the list because we ran out of it.
Mimosa?
Yeah, it just had a flavor that everybody appreciated.
Okay. All right. Well, we've got 10 seconds to break, so we're going to take a break real quick. No, we are going to be coming back from a break. All right. So all of you in Facebook land, I'm sorry, we tried to get some of your questions out. And I'm going to save one for when we come back. So, okay.
Okay.
Do I have time for another Facebook question from people real quickly?
Go ahead.
Okay. Yeah. Pamela, yeah. So Pamela Shields wants to know, she says, ask about veterans using cannabis and losing their pensions, as published in Forbes magazine by Mike Adams. Federal law supersedes state law. That's apparently what he's saying. But, if we're discussing this during the break, I'm going to hold that one for when we get back on the radio, because that's I think there'll be a lot of people. What about Parkinson's disease? Okay. So we're back. We're back on, and we are talking with Dragan Vicentic, and he is the owner of one of the medical marijuana dispensaries in the state of Arkansas, here in Hot Springs, as a matter of fact. And we've been trying to get people educated. One of the interesting questions from the people in the Facebook thread, because we are also, for those of you who are out in Radio Land listening to us, we are also broadcasting nationally and internationally on Facebook. Pamela Boyd Shields wants to know about veterans using cannabis. She says that will they lose their pensions? Because that is what was published in Forbes magazine by Mike Adams, that federal law supersedes state law, and the feds say you can't do this. So are you hearing anything about that?
About 6 months ago, I heard that same question, and I was kind of surprised by it. So I did call the Arkansas Department of Health and kind of pick their brain about it. And so what the answer that I received was that the database that the Arkansas Department of Health has does not link to anybody else, because there are HIPAA laws involved, because these are actually patients that are buying medicine. So that information that you are a medical marijuana card holder in Arkansas is not shared with anybody.
But even though the information isn't shared, I mean, there are a lot of veterans who are addicted to hydrocodone, OxyContin, because when the vets came home and they were in pain, that seemed to be the VA's answer to, rather than treating the problem, they treat the symptoms. It was easier just to medicate these guys. And then a lot of these guys got addicted. And those who are wanting to get off of those, the hydros and that sort of thing are wanting medical marijuana. But I was told, because I have a friend who's a veteran, that he was told if he tests, that they may actually forget the database, if they drug test you, and if you have marijuana in your system, that you lose your other meds. And he says he needs both. He needs, he's in a wheelchair. He's in really bad shape. And the codeine, the hydrocodone, does not get him through the day. And so the medical marijuana would help him halfway, but he said he has to choose one or the other.
So here's our philosophy. We want everybody to get off of those toxic opioids. And so by doing that, we want you to substitute the medical marijuana for the opioids. And I'm not saying go cold turkey and stop them, because that's a shock to your system. So the way to do that is on a 1 month basis. If, let's say, you're taking 4 hydrocodone, cut off on that last one, don't take it, take 3, and then substitute that with a medication of medical marijuana. See how that makes you feel, see how the cannabis affects you, and then do that for about a week. Then the following week, cut down to 2 hydrocodones and take two medications of medical marijuana. And so hopefully within a month, you can be done with those toxic opioids, and you don't have to worry about the federal government, because you're off of that garbage and you're on a natural product that can heal you.
It also, on the medical marijuana front, the prescription doesn't give you a dosage like, drugs give you a dosage. You can take one of these in the morning and one in the afternoon, but how do you keep people from overdosing on the marijuana? Because there's no,
you can't overdose. That's the beauty of it being a natural product. Nobody has ever overdosed on.
But I thought they were having overdose issues in Colorado.
Absolutely not.
Oh, but it was because of the food. They've got it in the foods. They've got the brownies and all kinds of other things, edibles. It's where they OD.
If you take too much medical marijuana, you're just going to fall asleep.
Okay. All right. Interesting. Okay. So now, once people get this prescription, and you also said that they're coming into your dispensary with these flimsy little cards,
yes.
and that that's what the state's giving them, and it's not going to hold up, and then they have to pay for another one. But you have a solution,
absolutely,
and you got it approved. Tell people out there about this.
So what we're doing when they come into Green Springs, just a quick fix for it is we take a piece of Scotch tape and we put it over the first 3 lines, and so that'll save those lines that we can read, that we have to read in order to be able to put you into the system to add whichever strains of medical marijuana you decide that you want. You can laminate your cards. Originally, the Department of Health came out and said, do not laminate them. They can't be read. They can't be scanned. That's not true. I personally emailed the head of the Department of Health, and she said that there's no longer a prohibition against laminating them, that they understand that they're flimsy and that the numbers scratch off, and that would be a huge issue. And of course, you don't want to pay extra money to have to get another card. Save that money for something else. Just laminate it or put a piece of tape over it, or when you come by, we'll do it for you. And that way you can use your card for the full year, hopefully.
Okay. So I may have missed this. You may have already covered this, but I want to hit it again. What does it cost? What are people paying in the dispensaries? And will they find that the prices are different from dispensary to dispensary? Are you guys competing against each other?
Well, originally we did. The other place came out at a price that was 25% higher than what we had been talking about for a whole month on our Facebook page, and our price is $15 a gram. They came out with a $20 per gram price, and I was just taken back because that's a ridiculous price. But it didn't take them, I think, one day, and probably a lot of the people that have been on our page to clue them in that we're selling it for $15 a gram. So they actually met our price, which is good because that quickly made it cheaper. I mean, immediately made it 25% cheaper to patients that are going over there.
So what are some of the complications that you guys have run into as a result of this being new? I mean, we're not reinventing the wheel in Arkansas. This has already happened in a number of other states. But how much have you relied on other states and the way they handle things to try to make this work smoothly?
So the largest complication is the software and the issues with it and the glitches. And the people at BioTrack are really good at repairing them, but sometimes it does take a little bit of time. So what that means is the state of Arkansas follows every single one of our sales and the amount of product that every single person purchases. They do it in real time. And so that system is implemented into every dispensary. So when you come in, you can purchase 2.5 ounces every 2 weeks, which is a total of 5 ounces per month. And a lot of you just had an eye-opening experience. You can't smoke 5 ounces a month. The reason the state set it at that high of an amount is because you have people such as cancer patients, which are in a lot of pain. If they're in a lot of pain, they're going to medicate a lot more. So that 5 ounces is meant for those cancer patients that need that medicine more frequently.
Okay. So I've got the floor director here trying to give me a note here. Where do you deposit the money that's made? Do you have to deposit it to who? To AT? What to deposit? ATF? No. Why would somebody ask that?
Tobacco.
Well, I know. Because it's not tobacco. Okay.
I mean, that's kind of
a
security question. I can't really go into that, but we're a cash business, so we pay our employees in cash. We pay for our.
It's just like any other business.
Yeah.
Okay. So, and what is the tax on this? How much of what you all make goes to the state?
Okay. So 13.5% is the total tax. The state gets its original 6.5% sales tax. The city gets 1.5% sales tax. The county gets 1.5, and then the city gets another 4% privilege tax. Now, that privilege tax is to run the Medical Marijuana Commission and the ABC, so that they need that 4% to pay all the employees to do the enforcement and clerical.
Okay. What about the age? Is there an age limit?
No, there's no age limit. If a child has seizures, the parent is the caregiver, but as long as you meet the symptom, you can get it at any age. I would hope that children and people that have office jobs would get products with a lower THC so that the psychoactive wouldn't affect them as much, because you still get the medicinal qualities of it, whether the THC is high or low.
Okay. Will it be dispensed in prison since it is a prescription? That's what somebody wanted to know in Facebook land. I guess there are prisoners in jail that have medical needs and they get other kinds of prescriptions. So will you all be doing that?
Look,
probably somebody in jail is on Facebook and they sent that. I wanted to know that question.
I guess if you got
the
money,
prescription.
if you got money on your books and you can pay for it, and one of the dispensaries decides they're going to deliver to a prison, then I could see how that would work.
I wonder if anybody's even honestly, have you thought about that?
Absolutely not.
So you're leaving here with this is going to be a business thing. Somebody, if your competition's watching there, we need to get into the prisons right now. That could mellowing the guys out might actually be beneficial. To cut down on the potential for riots. So I see a whole new line of business. There are a lot of people in jail in this state. So I know what you're going to do when you leave here today. Okay. So and then I don't know how that's an interesting question. People are out there watching and they're coming up with some great stuff. So what else do we need to know that I haven't asked you that people ask you when they call the dispensary?
So I brought the top 10 list of questions when I answer the phone.
All right.
So the hours, we're open from 10 until 8, Monday through Saturday. We're closed on Sunday. That's the only day we're closed.
It's called Green Springs, by the way. Okay.
Green Springs Medical. And when will vape oil and edibles be available? That's the largest question. And so the reason we only have dry herb right now is because the cultivator is trying to get to the product to market as quickly as possible. And the dry herb form is the quickest to get there. Vape oil takes further processing. Edibles take further processing. So they're just trying to get it there as quick as possible. The answer to it is the vape oil will be available in about a week, and the edibles possibly in 2 to 3 weeks. And then the other question is the lines. So originally we did have lines. The first day it took about 3 hours to get through the whole line. But like I said, we're a high volume dispensary. We have 6 or 7 consultants that help at any single time. So we're pushing 6, 7 people through. And so the lines are a little busy in the mornings when we first open at 10 till about 11:30 or 12. But after 12 o'clock, you can pretty much just kind of walk up and walk in because we can handle 6 or 7 people at a time. The next question that's most often asked is, can they laminate? And I think we covered that. They can laminate the ID cards to preserve.
Do you have a drive-through window? I bet there are people that would prefer to drive through.
that would probably help a lot. Yeah.
Some of I bet there's some Baptists out there that prefer to drive through.
Liquor store and weed drive-throughs.
That's right. Sorry. Hey, I'm Baptist, so just I'm laughing at myself here. So okay, go ahead. What are some of the other most common questions that people are asking? Let's get those answered so that your phone will slow down a little bit.
Will insurance cover the medical marijuana? And for the most part, the insurance companies are all about money. We all know that. So their answer is going to be no, because it's not legal federally. When that's changed federally from a substance 1, then they're going to have to start covering it, because look, they pay for your hydrocodones, they pay for everything else. There's no reason why,
which are highly addictive,
which they shouldn't. There's no reason why they shouldn't pay for this product, and it's natural. So they're going to have to. I think there may be a couple insurance companies out there. So call your insurance company and see what their position on it is.
Okay.
Yeah.
What else?
That's really the top questions. There's different ways to set up your dispensary. So the one down the street, everything they have is prepackaged. You walk in, you don't see anything. You just order off of their menu, and then when you get out to the car, you can open your package and see what you received. And from what our patients are telling us is that you get a lot of seeds in there. You get a lot of stuff you don't want, can't use. And so the beauty of the way that we're set up is it's kind of a deli style. You walk in, we got glass cases, everything's lit up. I mean, we got smiling faces there to help you and talk to you about your symptoms. And then all of our strains are in mason jars. And so you see the product right there in front of you. We unscrew the lid. You can smell it.
You see what you get.
You can actually say, oh my goodness, that one bud right there
is
really the one.
Green Springs Medical Dispensary. Yes.
That's the one that I want. And we'll give you that one. We'll give you exactly what you want. And so that's the beauty of it, because you see what you're getting right.
You get to pick it.
Absolutely.
Okay. I would imagine that's a big selling point. So how did you think of that? Did you actually go to another state and look at how they're doing it and study this before you
We did, absolutely. I mean, this isn't something that came about overnight. A lot of thought went into the design of our dispensary. The flow pattern works very well. You walk in, you speak to the intake clerk, you go into the dispensary, you go out a different door. So it's not something you just kind of come up overnight and say, hey, we're going to open the doors and see how this works.
Right. Do you fear that this could be the pathway to the door opening of legalization of marijuana in this state?
It will.
How will that affect what you do?
The standard is that once you go medical marijuana, that you within 2 to 3 years go recreational, and that's fine with us. The one thing that I heard about 6 months ago that I was kind of appalled at was that the statistic was that 9.5% of people actually go to a medical marijuana facility for medicine, and the other 91% people get high. And when I heard that, I said, "Oh man, that's not good, because I want to help people." And so the one thing that I've noticed in the 7 or 8 days that we've been open is the people that are coming in, they need it for medicinal purposes. I mean, they're coming in on crutches, they're coming in on wheelchairs, they're hobbling in. I hate to use that word, but you can see in their eyes that they need this medicine. Okay. And so it's 91% that need it, and maybe flipped over.
Well, we're gonna have to take a quick break. When we come back, we're gonna visit with Dragon a little more. I'm not gonna let him go because we still have a lot of questions. So stay with us. Okay, so we're in a radio break. I was going to look and see if there's some more questions.
You got 2.5 minutes.
2.5 minutes for the break?
Yeah.
Okay.
We can talk
private
about out of
insurance.
state. We can talk about
Okay.
out of state cards. We can talk about the stigma of marijuana.
Limit of legal liability for the user, i.e. cause of car wreck. While high.
You shouldn't medicate it while you're driving.
Yeah, well, I'm wondering, can you do that even? You're not supposed to drink and drive, so I'm wondering if you can.
It's the same thing. You've got to use common sense.
Yeah, it's interesting. Okay. Steve Huff in Arizona says, hello, Steve. How are you doing? I don't know if you guys have medical marijuana, and that's
Arizona. They do.
They do have it in Arizona. Okay. So I'm going to scroll down here. Let's see if there's something else. Folks, I appreciate you watching out there in Facebook land, and you're very popular today. You've got a lot of people online right now. What other states are doing this?
There are 33 states.
33 states now. Wow, I missed a few. Right. So that's moving fast and furious.
They want you to run again.
I know, everybody. Thank you. I do. Well, that's 3 years away. Responsibility. People want a job that is okay. Shelley Finley Crafts says, I hate to ask a dumb question, but how do I watch from the beginning? Okay. Shelley, once this program is over with today, you can go back to my Facebook page or Conduit News page, and it will be there in full for you. Probably the Conduit News page will have the music bed and everything on it. Mine we're split up because it's kind of a technical nightmare, but anyway, it's working out great. And just look at my page. I will post this and repost this as soon as this is over with. You'll always be able to find it on my pages. Let's see, they're talking about sanctuary cities. So I'm looking at there's still what has been the public reaction to you? I mean, you know a lot of folks, and I actually have seen some stuff on your Facebook page. You're kind of a conservative sort of guy, kind of. And politically. And so are Republicans giving you flack over this? Or are you seeing as many Republicans as you see Democrats in this?
Absolutely. I mean, across the board, people are loving this product. A couple.
Okay, so we are back on. Thanks for joining us. Jan Morgan filling in for Paul Harrell. And we've got the most amazing guest with us. Interesting guest, so to speak. Definitely. Dragan Vicentic. He is the owner of Green Springs medical marijuana dispensary in Hot Springs, Arkansas. And he's been filling our ears about how this whole thing works and the kinks that had to be worked out and what their facility is like. Their Facebook page is called Green Springs Medical, right?
Dispensary. Mm-hmm.
Medical dispensary. A lot of folks follow them there, and you have an interesting approach to the way you've set up your facility. And so I hope people will at least check out your page and see what that's about. People are wanting to know about the liability for the user. If you're in a car wreck, for example, well, people drive their cars when they're on hydrocodone that they're taking for pain. So what is the difference if you're taking medical marijuana and you have an accident? Do you expect that's going to be treated differently?
No, not at all. I mean, it's just common sense. You're not going to drink and drive. You're not going to take a lot of hydrocodones and drive. Mm-hmm. So it's the same way with medical marijuana. You shouldn't medicate and drive. Mm-hmm. It just has to be common sense. You can't do any of the others and drive. So be careful out there.
Well, I do know a lot of people that are on certain types of drugs like hydrocodone and OxyContin, that sort of thing for pain. They do still drive. I mean, it's the only way they can function. The Marine that I've talked to, and I'm telling you, there are a lot of folks really concerned about their gun rights. What are you hearing on that front? Because, and I know you're hearing that question at the dispensary because people don't want to lose their guns.
So the attorney that drafted the bill that was originally voted on, his comment to it is that you can still have a gun, you can still buy a gun, you can still sell a gun. You can only do that though through other people that aren't licensed firearm dealers. Mm-hmm. So you can transact that business and still be okay. But you just can't go to a federal firearms license dealer and fill out a federal form because on there it asks, do you use medical marijuana? Mm-hmm. And if you check that box, then guess what? They're not going to sell it to you.
They are not going to sell it to you, right? And just so you know, we have got. I talk with state police. I'm an actual Arkansas concealed handgun license instructor. Yeah. So the thing is, they've already changed the paperwork, and I'm going to talk about the whole gun thing in the next segment. So be sure to stay tuned for that because I know a lot of people are concerned about that, and we're going to tell you what we know, which is not a whole lot, but I think we'll be able to share a little bit more with you. Anything else you would like to say that maybe I didn't ask, or that maybe you've seen in these threads with people commenting?
Some people are wanting to know how to certify, and I think we covered that in the first part of the segment. But tomorrow night, there's a clinic at Ascension Wellness Clinic on Section Line Road. It's 295 Section Line Road, mm-hmm. And it's at 5:30. And if you bring your medical records with you or your medical history, there's a discount. It's only $125 to have one of those physicians certify your condition so that you can send it to the Arkansas Department of Health and get approved.
Oh, so y'all are making a whole lot. Okay, see. No.
You didn't know that.
No. So you don't have to go to your personal physician. You can just find out where one of these big meetings is, and you can go to meeting, and they're going to have this big group of doctors, and you're going to take your symptoms, and you can get your prescription right there. Who would have?
How easy.
Making it easy. Once again, now, is that happening around the state, or is that just something you all kind of cooked up for this area?
So we've done a lot of it just because we've been proactive in helping patients in our area. Mm-hmm. There is another group. It's called A Medicinal Purpose. A Medicinal Purpose, and mm-hmm. that's on Facebook, and they have seminars in Benton all the time. So look them up on Facebook and look at their next meeting area where you can do the same thing there.
Okay. So once again, for people listening, we just got a couple of minutes here. For people listening, in case you didn't catch that, because people are going, how do you get a prescription? What symptoms do you have to have? What illnesses? You have on your Facebook page, Green Springs Facebook page, have a list of the specific illnesses that you have to have in order to get qualified. Now, he is talking about if you can't get to your doctor, or say your doctor doesn't want to write you a prescription for it, he says that there's going to be this event, a clinic, so to speak, and you can go there and you take your list of symptoms and your medical records. You have to have medical records, right? Showing that you've had treatment for these mm-hmm. symptoms and that sort of thing. And what else do those records have to show? What else will people need with them in order to get a prescription?
You need your driver's license and you need your medical records so that they show that you have one of the 18 symptoms mm-hmm. that you've been diagnosed with it. Okay. And so if the physician there on staff can ascertain that, yes, you do have PTSD, or you do have seizures, or you do have cancer, it's just a quick form that they fill out and you're ready to go.
Wow. Okay. And once again, give people the date, the time, and the address that's going to take place.
That's Ascension Wellness Clinic. It's at 295 Section Line Road. It's tomorrow night. It starts at 5:30. You can also go to a compassionate care clinic on Marion Anderson Road. That's also in Hot Springs, and you can call them for an appointment anytime.
Okay. All right. Well, we are wrapping up. Once again, we have been talking with Dragan Vicentic, and he is the owner of Green Springs, a medical marijuana dispensary. And you can where can people find your page, your website to find out more and get these questions answered in case they missed our show today?
The most amount of information, and we post on there daily, is our Facebook page, Green Springs Medical Dispensary. There's a ton of information on there, rules, other people post and comment. We answer their questions. You can private message me. It's just a portal to be able to answer any questions that you have. We do have a webpage. It's greenspringsmedical.com. We're adding to it daily to get it up and going.
Okay. We're out of time.
Okay.
We got to run. Quick break. We'll be right back. Sorry, he was giving me a 10-second wrap.
Okay.
So
right.
Good. Now we've got, I think we've pretty much covered everything. Yeah.
So we did a good job.
Yes. I really, this is going to be a long drawn out deal. I wish,
that's the federal law, but look, the feds are not going to pull you over in Hot Springs, Arkansas.
Right. Well, yeah. And that's what, right. Are they going to come to your house and do gun confiscations?
They're not going to do that.
But this will be part of your medical record, right? So, and your medical records are supposed to be private.
Well, and that's what I said earlier on. The Department of Health doesn't share the database with anybody else, so it's not part of your medical record.
Oh, it's not.
Mm-mm.
It's still. Okay.
It doesn't go.
I'll
on
mention that Department of Health. It's only place it is, so it does not go on your.
Unless you're, let's say you're on Social Security. Unless you tell them that you have a medical marijuana card, they don't know that.
Well, so if state police come to you guys and say, we want the list, are y'all going to provide them with the list?
No, we can't.
No. Okay.
It's a HIPAA violation.
Okay. All right. Well, then we'll tell people that after the break. Okay.
All right.
Okay. Thank you so much. So great meeting you.
Anytime you want me on here, call me.
I will. I'll do that.
Hey, how's it going?
I'll get you on here in an evening time sometime that's when all my people are watching on Facebook. I got 1.5 million followers, and they're on in the evenings. Wow. So, all right, Sheriff, come on and have a seat. Folks, we're in a radio break right now, but we're coming back right here. Have a seat.
All right. It's good to see you.
Hey, good to see you too. I want to make sure we got you in the picture good. Let me move up here. Yes. So let's,
There's some good notes.
I want you to pull back a little bit because see what I'm trying to do. Here's where I want to get you in the picture. I'm going to cut off your head. So I'll raise that up just a tad. Here we got that Israeli tabor right over your shoulder. How's that? Okay. Awesome. And what we got here, is this the kind of stuff we want to talk about?
Well, it's just about the medical marijuana and usage and so forth.
Oh, okay. Oh, that's a good one because we didn't talk about people coming in here from out of state.
They were actually able to get a temporary permit or whatever.
Okay, so I know I'm not ignoring all the folks out there in Facebook land. I know you guys are still with us, and we've got the sheriff coming on here with us. We're going to be checking with him as soon as the radio stations come back from break, and we're going to ask all the legal stuff. And I don't know how much he's going to be able to tell us at this point because there's so much gray out there. But we're going to try to answer as many questions for you as possible between what he knows and what I know. Hopefully, we'll leave you feeling a little more knowledgeable by the time this segment is over. So, and we're gonna try to keep him here from 7:30 to 8. You think you can stay with us that long?
I'll try.
Okay, all right. Yeah, I'm so glad to have you on. This is great. I get to talk to your deputies all the time. They come in, patrol the area, and we wave them down and say, "Hey, how's it going out there?" So, yeah.
Certainly my pleasure. And you've been a huge supporter over the years, and I appreciate that.
Yes. I was the first one to put a McCormick sign out in front of our place.
Yeah, and it raised a lot of controversy.
Yeah. Well, yeah, just people. Yeah, if you're associated with me, that's just the way it goes. But hey, usually there's only one kind of people that don't like me, and that's people that are real far left. So yeah. Okay, are we back up? All right, welcome back. Jan Morgan here on the Paul Harrell program with Conduit News, filling in for Paul this week. We have had the most interesting past hour talking about the whole medical marijuana thing. We had Dragan Vicentic here, who is one of the owners of the first medical marijuana dispensary to open in the state, and he answered a lot of questions. If you missed that, you can always go back to my Facebook page, Jan Morgan, and you can also go to the Conduit News page, and get all the information that you need. You can re-watch this whole show or back it up and watch the whole thing and get the answers and share it with your friends because, we did cover a lot of territory for you. Green Springs Medical Dispensary is the name of the facility that Mr. Vicentic owns here in Hot Springs. And his sounded really interesting the way they put it out there so that you can actually pick what you want. Instead of, it being prepackaged and you don't know what you're going to get. So, and interesting, he also mentioned you might want to get back on my page. I'll try to put the written information for you in the thread so you'll know. But he mentioned a specific event tomorrow night where there are going to be a number of doctors. Here we go. It's Ascension Wellness Clinic. And for people whose doctors, if you have a doctor who isn't going to prescribe it for you and you really feel that you need it, you can go to this clinic. It's going to be tomorrow night at 5:30 p.m. at 295 Section Line Road. And they'll have a team of people there who can look at your medical. You need to bring your medical records, bring a valid state-issued photo ID, and they will get you taken care of if you qualify. So, all right. With me in this segment, we have Garland County Sheriff Mike McCormick, one of my favorite sheriffs in the whole state. In fact, you and Chris Brown. I love Sheriff Brown also. But anyway, so from a law enforcement perspective, this has been so confusing for the people. I can't imagine what you guys are up against because there's so much gray area out there. How are you all preparing from your standpoint to deal with any issues related to medical marijuana and what could happen as a result of people who are on that?
I mean, what a changing time that we have right now.
Yes,
it is mind-boggling. It's very much a work in progress as far as law enforcement is concerned. My number one issue as sheriff here in Garland County is to keep the roads, keep our community safe. And what we want to focus on is making sure nobody is operating a motor vehicle, a motorboat, motorcycle, or what have you in a dangerous manner. Otherwise, under the influence, whether it be under the influence of marijuana, prescription medicine, illegal narcotics or controlled substance. So it all kind of falls into the same gamut as far as I am concerned, and generally law enforcement is going to take that same attitude also.
Okay, that's going to be interesting. I've been talking to some police officers on the scene, and just so you all know out there what ATF is saying. Now, I've been talking with ATF. I've talked to the state police, and here's what they're saying. Specifically regarding your gun rights, because that's what a lot of folks in the state are concerned about, losing their concealed handgun license. You state police say you will lose your handgun license. They may not come and yank it from you because they have no way of knowing. Now, and I just talked to Mr. Vicentic about this. There is not going to be a state database that law enforcement has access to that's going to tell them who has medical marijuana, correct? I mean, you don't correct, right now, sure. you don't have that. And state police aren't going to have that. When I talked to them the other day, they don't have that. And Mr. Vicentic said that it's a health department database, and it's like any other medical condition you have. Your meds, your prescriptions, that sort of thing are protected by HIPAA. So it's not like the police are going to start doing raids of your homes and making sure if you've got a medical marijuana prescription, they're going to come in and take your guns. That's not going to happen. That's not going to be an issue. But what ATF is telling me is that you cannot, if you have that medical marijuana prescription, you cannot be in possession of a firearm or ammunition. Now, I will tell you this. I mean, I talked to the folks in Little Rock, and then I talked to the folks with ATF national level. And what they're saying is, yes, when Jeff Sessions was Attorney General, he had a very adamant position against the whole marijuana thing. Now we have a new AG, William Barr. No one knows for sure where he's going to stand on this. And so ATF is kind of backing off now and saying, we don't really know what our official position is. We do know at this point it is illegal. According to federal law, it's still illegal. However, as you heard Dragon mention before the break, there are 33 states now where people are using medical marijuana. In some states, they've legalized marijuana. So, it's going to, I really am not expecting law enforcement to be going after people and their guns.
And you're exactly right. What we're focused on is people out there driving under the influence, operating equipment in a dangerous manner.
Okay.
we have a lot of things going on in law enforcement, and the legalization of medical marijuana is not at this point causing any issues for me personally or anything that I'm observing. So, I mean, we're moving forward. It's very much in doubt how all the laws and so forth are going to pan out over the next few months and the next few years. And we're just going along playing it as it comes. Now,
Sheriff, is it true that a majority of crimes are related to drug use? I'm talking about heroin, those Flocka, some of those street drugs that are
Absolutely.
Extremely dangerous. So I'm wondering if this might actually cause a reduction in some of that other stuff, because the people who were addicted to opiates in Arkansas is number 2 in the nation for opioid addiction. Okay. Number 2 in the nation. So I've been particularly interested in how we can get people off of opiates. And this is one direction those people are taking. They're going to do the marijuana to try to back off on the amount of opiates that they're taking, because the feds are cracking down and a lot of those folks can't get what they need. So it's going to be interesting to see if actually it helps more than hurts. Do you think, I mean, is that a possibility?
I think it could go a lot of different directions, and only time's going to tell that tale.
Right.
I'm looking at it. I'm not expecting any major changes, to be quite honest with you. I mean, whether it's medical marijuana or if it's illicit drugs or prescription medication, they're all expensive. They all cost a lot of money. So one way or the other, people are going to have to get that money from someplace.
Now, what about a traffic stop? Let's say, what are you telling your deputies regarding traffic stops, and if they smell marijuana in the vehicle? If someone has a medical marijuana card, what do you all? Before this, I'm sure you had a very specific approach, but now, how will you guys deal with that?
If marijuana is being smoked in the vehicle prior to the officer stopping it or during the stop, it's just like it was before. It makes no difference as far as I am concerned as Sheriff of Garland County and my deputies. Mm-hmm. Now, if they're not smoking in the vehicle and they're not putting anybody else at danger, of course, we've got a whole different approach.
But what if somebody else is smoking it besides the driver?
Well, we're going to have to weigh each individual case on a case-by-case basis.
Okay.
So if you have somebody that's smoking it in the car, period. And this is my stance right now. And a lot of this is ongoing and changing. And as the months roll on, we may change our stance on this. But as of right now, if we catch somebody smoking marijuana in the car, whether they've got the medical marijuana permit or not, they're going to be charged.
Okay.
And I think the law is leaning, if it's not already, 100% in that direction.
Okay. Now, you have a list here of some specific places that I think people are going to be interested in knowing. These are places where you cannot use medical marijuana. Can you just kind of go over those for us so that people know?
Sure. And I'm not saying this is mandated by the law, but I think as we go through them, it makes sense that you don't want people in an impaired condition in any of these places. Mm-hmm. So as we go through here, the ones on a school bus, we prefer that our school bus drivers not be smoking marijuana as they're picking up the kids.
Right.
On the grounds of a preschool, primary, or secondary school. Once again, that's kind of a common sense type thing. Okay. Correctional facilities, we don't want our detention deputies high during their shifts, or the inmates, of course.
Well,
we don't
on
want
that
them.
note, but on that note, one of the questions from one of our viewers was, okay, well, prisoners get prescriptions for their ailments. Well, if this is now a prescription, what will you all allow? Because you have a jail. Have you all thought about that yet? What are you going to do when a prisoner says, my doctor says I should get medical marijuana? What are you going to do about that?
Well, this is very much a changing situation, but my stance on it at this point in time is no. Hell no.
Okay.
Hell no. We're
not only no, but okay.
No.
You heard him. You're the sheriff. So I guess yeah. That's that sounded pretty definitive. So.
In a motor vehicle, when it's being operated, in a private residence that's used for private child care.
Okay. Right.
Let's see. Any public place where an individual could reasonably be expected to be observed by others. Mm-hmm. So that right there cuts a lot of places out. Now, I'm not saying these are in the law as of this point in time, right. But if just following these guidelines, if they do become law, mm-hmm. I mean, it's going to resolve 99% of all the issues the general public is going to have.
Right. You know, the federal government, because the feds say it's still illegal, they've taken a very strong stance against this, and yet so many states are pushing forward with it anyway. You know, you sheriff have more constitutional power in the county, in Garland County, than the president of the United States. That is a huge, a very powerful position, and I wonder if the feds come in and they start trying to enforce federal regulations on the people of your county. Can people expect you to stand up for them and say, not here?
I can tell you what I tell people on a pretty regular basis.
Okay.
And there's people pushing at all times. It never seems to slow down. And at least I think, you may find some people that disagree with me, but I'm a pretty easygoing person. But don't step on my toes. And if you want to poke the bear, you want to step on my toes, try to get in the middle of my business. That's where I draw the line.
In the middle of people's business. Yeah, you're the protector, you're the guard between the people. So we're going to count on that. So what are some other things that you want people to know regarding this issue that maybe I didn't ask?
I think it's got great potential. I think it's going to bring a lot of tax dollars into our community, and then I think those tax dollars are going to be used for the betterment of our community as a whole. So I'm looking forward to that. It's a sad day when it seems like everything breaks down to money. Of course, if it's and I believe this 100%. I mean, it can be a great tool, medical marijuana. So I look for some huge medical benefits, but I look for some huge financial benefits at all. And I hope a portion of that money goes towards public safety.
Right. And you guys could use some financial help. You got a really nice facility and you're not able to open up it was about half of it. You've got a really nice jail. I'm sorry, I haven't been able to come out and see it, but
that's a
funding
good thing.
has been part of the issue, isn't it?
Yeah, we've got about a third of the detention center that's not open at this point, and we stay at full capacity pretty much all the time. And yeah, money makes the world go round. And but my focus is towards public safety. I don't want people out there doing dangerous things and hurting other people. And I try to stop them as much as I can from hurting themselves. But the majority of it is keeping our community safe, and it's a full-time job, obviously,
right,
for me and about 500 people in Garland, 500 law enforcement officers in Garland County.
I did not realize your agency was that large.
Well, the sheriff's office is only 200.
Okay. And the Department of Corrections.
Well, you've got the city police department, you've got the state police, game and fish, law enforcement as a whole. There's a big presence in most communities.
Tell me what is happening on the illegal drug front. I was asking another officer the other day because Flocka is moving south. It's moving our direction. Have you seen that appear yet in Garland County? If you all notice that, or what if not, what seems to be the biggest illegal drug issue that we have here right now?
On the Flocka, I've not seen a whole lot of that in Garland County as of this point, but certainly it's a changing environment. Every month we're finding new drugs, and some drugs go by the wayside. It boils down to availability. It will clamp down on one particular drug, illicit drug, and then another one will pop up. So it's an ongoing battle. Ronald Reagan made the statement years ago. He was declaring war on drugs, but yet 5 presidents before him had declared war on drugs, and every president since Ronald Reagan has declared war on drugs. It's here to stay, and we have to deal with it the best way we can because it's not going away.
Now, how are your officers dealing with the fentanyl issue? Because I read, there are certain types of fentanyl that even the smallest amount of dust, if an officer touches it when he's trying to help, someone who's OD'd, that it's particularly dangerous. What has that presented itself as a problem for your guys?
It hasn't presented a problem. It just makes us more aware and very, very cautious. And now all the law enforcement in Garland County, Sheriff's Office, Police Department, State Police, all carry Narcan. And that's the drug that can revive someone that is unconscious from an opioid overdose.
And are you having to do that often?
We've done it 3 or 4 times within the county, and it's a lifesaver. It will take basically almost a comatose person for sure, and almost expired individual. It'll take them and revive them within seconds. And it's a great tool that we use and we have available. It's expensive. It was purchased through state grants initially, and every officer had 2 containers of it. I called the drug czar, Kirk Lane, a couple months ago, and I'm like, man, we're going through this Narcan.
Mm-hmm.
What about replacement Narcan capsules through this grant?
Right.
Well, it was a one-time deal. So now we have an additional expense, and it's $100 per dose. So it just continues on and on and on, and it gets more expensive to protect the citizens of the county. That's another reason why this medical marijuana funding is so important to get that back to public safety.
Okay. Well, Sheriff, I really appreciate you dropping by here today. It was great chatting with you. You've answered a lot of questions, I think, for the people regarding law enforcement, and look forward to hearing back from you as things progress to see, how we're coming along. If it's if there are any changes that people need to know about, you'll let us know first,
Sure.
Right? Okay. Good to see you. Thank you so much.
My pleasure.
All
Thank
right.
you.
Okay, folks. So I was talking with Sheriff Mike McCormick, Garland County Sheriff, and we've been talking about the medical marijuana issue, what that means for people in law enforcement. The law enforcement community is in the same position many of us are in this state and around this country, because it's a new thing. And people aren't sure where the feds are going to come down on it, and what it's going to mean regarding gun rights, for example, even in our own state. I will tell you this: just stay tuned, because I think that we will be able to get you more information as the situation progresses. Thank you so much for allowing me to sit in for you, Paul Harrell. I hope that you all have enjoyed the program, and be sure to check out Conduit News. Conduit News is definitely the place, the conservative source for fact-based information about what's going on in your state government. And also, don't forget to donate Conduit News, because they depend on your donations. Appreciate you for being with us. Jen Morgan here. And
You said 10 minutes.
I've got 10 more minutes.
It's a 4-minute break.
Yeah, okay. So we're going to take a quick break, and then we'll be back. We'll have 10 more minutes after the break. Stay tuned. Okay. Thank you.
Anytime.
I want to have you come on with me after that, and let's talk about the Hillary thing to kind of close it out, okay?
Reggie, question for you.
Yes, sir.
You sent me a text message saying it was broke. What's going on?
If you have to go, let's see what's-
Oh, but what's bogus?
Mine goes-
Okay. So while we're in this break, folks, my floor director tells me we actually have 10 more minutes when we come back. So we're going to do that. I'm going to visit with, let's see here. We're going to talk with Reggie Cowan when we come back. Well, hopefully he'll be able to visit with me. But I'm going to take some time to answer your questions. We've got a lot of folks out here wanting to know things. And folks, just so you know, the reason we're handling it the way we are, because we are also simultaneously broadcasting on radio stations across the state of Arkansas. So the radio stations have to go to commercial breaks. We don't have to do that on Facebook. So while they're in commercial breaks, that's when we're kind of laid back, talking behind the scenes, doing some production work back here, talking about what's coming up next, how much time we have, and that sort of thing. And also, I wanted to try to visit with you all and take some of your questions. Wow, there's a lot of questions in here. People want to know, what's the policy on my range if people are under the influence of medical marijuana? Okay, we'll talk about that. Even Colorado can't decide what the levels are acceptable for driving because it varies from one individual to another since it became legal there. Wrecks are down. Explain that. So yeah, we're going to do that. Tell you what, folks, if you'll just hang tight, and we're going to be back with more Conduit News after this. The Paul Harrell program is going to continue, but I'm going to take a quick break. Those of you in Facebook land, just stay with me, hang tight, and we will be right back. Okay. Reggie, are you still on the phone with Joe? Yeah. How much time do I have? Mickey, you want to come on and visit real quickly before we go? You want to come on and visit
Sure.
about anything? What do you want to talk about?
I'm on the other end of this thing. I'm in the trench. I see these people come in.
Hi, Mike.
We've had all
Have a
the
good day. You look like you
all
have
the illicit things, the opioids,
Well, come on. That'll be a good opposite side to take. Come on. We'll have you come on.
And the really main thing was immigration and the number of people that come in and get care that had just wandered into the country. So my concern is number one about our direction of our country.
Yeah, well, come on and have a seat so you can join me. So, okay, as we're getting ready to come back from the break, those of you, somebody was asking about the policy for my range. Here's the deal. I've always been with the position that if I feel that you are under the influence of anything that has impaired your judgment, then I'm not going to let you shoot. I mean, I'm not drug testing people or anything like that, but I can pretty much tell by the way people act when they come in the door. Somebody was asking, Greg Klevgard wanted to know, what's the policy on your range, Jan, if you think they are under the influence of medical marijuana? I don't want to think that you're under the influence of anything that's going to impair your judgment when you're handling firearms. That's just pretty cut and dry. So, yeah, 10 seconds, and we're going to be coming back on the air on the radio. So, all right. So hang with us, folks, out in Facebook land. Welcome back. Jan Morgan filling in for Paul Harrell on the Conduit News. And with me, we've only got a few more minutes. And I wanted to spend some time with a guy that stopped by our studios, one of my dearest friends, hardline conservative, Dr. Mickey Matthews. And thank you so much for stepping in and joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, Doc, you've been listening to the show. You've been here all morning. And I was said, well, during a break, I stepped over and said, so what's your take on everything? And you said, well, I'm kind of been listening and there's some things that bother me. First of all, tell people a little bit about what kind of doctor you are, and then we'll get into what your thoughts are, kind of wrapping things up here.
Okay, by education, I'm a dentist, a healthcare provider, and I see patients on a daily basis that come in and they have all sorts of chemicals in their systems, if you will. And now we have added to the list medical marijuana. And I'm very concerned about how it's going to be monitored, what we can expect the sheriff to do, the county to do, the state to do, how we're going to be supported. Now we have, as far as opiates, we have a nice program where the state monitors our prescriptions, and then they put it all in one big vat and ferret through the number of people that are getting too many prescription drugs.
Right.
Are they going to do that same kind of thing with marijuana? Are they going to be? I know that that Dragon spoke about you can't overdose on medical marijuana. Well.
You disagree with that.
What about, well, a little bit. And what about people that I'm concerned very much about the legal liability of people that are on the street, in the public, on medical marijuana. And if they cause something to happen, where does the law go with the responsibility of it?
The liability of it.
The sheriff say that it's just like if they were drinking too much, taking too many opiates, et cetera, that the law would apply the same way.
Right. So you mentioned people coming in under the influence of all kinds of chemicals. Does that affect what you do? I mean, because when I go to the dentist, the first thing I want is for them to knock me out, gas me, give me shots. I don't want to feel anything. I want to go to sleep.
We can do all of that, but we have a lot of people that like to self-medicate themselves before they come. And some of the things they use are not legal. Okay. And then that makes it very difficult with us if we're putting drugs into their system.
That might not mix well with that.
Of them, the whole thing. So
it
gets a little more complicated. It's a little bit of a sticky wicket.
Well, you also you and I've talked before about the illegal immigration thing, and you were here at the beginning of the show when we were talking about how now we have, we have the bill that prohibits sanctuary cities in the state. And you have an interesting perspective because initially when Obamacare, and then it became Arkansas Works, and we had Medicaid expansion in Arkansas, we've discovered a lot of people from other states were on our tax dollar and utilizing our Arkansas Works program. And you specifically say that not only have you run into that with patients coming in from other states to your place, but you've talked to other doctors who have seen the same thing.
It's not unusual that we'll see a patient that comes in and I had one 2 weeks ago that comes to mind that was from Arizona that lives in Arizona, registered to vote in Arizona, vacations in Hot Springs, but came in using our Medicaid system through the state of Arkansas, which to me seems like the money really should go for our people and not for the people that are. I like to clean up our own backyard first.
Mhm. Yeah, that's so. That has to be frustrating because
Very
you're a
frustrating.
taxpayer. It's we're paying for these people in other states to get medical attention off of. Why don't they get something done in their own state? Very frustrating, but
Yeah, they may double dip. They may get it there and they may get it here also. I don't know. And we can't get into that with them. We're the care providers.
right.
We provide the care based on what the law will allow as far as what benefits are available.
Mm-hmm.
And so we really can't get into that with the patient, although it does seem a bit unfair to me.
Okay, we are running out of time. Dr. Matthews, thank you so much for dropping in
Thank
and
you, Ms.
supporting us
Morgan, for
today.
having me.
Yes, absolutely. We are running out of time, folks. Just wanted to tell you thanks for joining us today. Thank you, Conduit News, for asking me to fill in for Paul Harrell. Always a pleasure. And always remember, most armed, most free. You know that I have to close with a Second Amendment quote. Have a great week.